Om Sakana Bhavatu Sakano Bhunaktu Sakaviryam Karavavakai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavakai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatar varisthaya ramakrishnaya te namaha. Sruti smriti purananam alayam karunalayam namami bhagavat padam shankaram lokashankaram. So the discussion continues, the answers to the 7 questions that the student asks. We should remember the questions. What is bondage? How did it arise? How does it continue to exist? How to get out of it? And what is non-Atman? And then we will discuss what is Atman. Ko nama bandha kathamesha agataha katham pradishthasya katham vimokshaha kosu anatma paramatma tayor viveka kathameta uchyada. So it is the 51st verse of the text. As I mentioned earlier, the teacher takes up the question, what is non-Atman? Because we can't really understand Atman. Atman cannot be understood the way we understand different things in this world. In fact, we cannot understand the world also. So what is there to be understood? But there is something in which we live, that we experience, of which we are a part. The world of our body, emotions, feelings, attitudes, ideas and so on, which we all live with. The moment we understand their true nature, then we understand they are not absolute realities, they are only relative. And at that point, what is the real becomes self-evident. So again, I have to use the old analogy. You know, when there is a piece of rope and you mistake that rope for a snake due to the absence of enough light, and when you bring light, when you open the doors and windows, then the fact that it is a rope is not a new knowledge. It is not something new. Whereas all wrong notions are removed, and when all wrong ideas are removed, what is left out is the right notion. When you are free from the wrong notions that this is a rope, this is a snake or a piece of stick or a stream of water, all these wrong notions are removed when you bring light. And then what happens? Once all these wrong notions are removed, the fact it is a rope is not a new information. That's the only thing we understand. So that's why the knowledge of Atman is self-evidence. It's a self-discovery. It is actually recognizing the fact that we are in our own home, we have not really left our home. So it is actually coming back to our own true nature. That's why there is a very famous statement in the Shankara's commentary. Some of these small pithy statements could be as profound, you can write volumes on that. Mokshasya akaryatva. This is the meaning. This is a simple verse. Only 2 words. Liberation is not the effect of anything. Now, if there is something, see this table is the effect of wood that a carpenter must have worked hard. So this table is there. Which means this table can be destroyed. So whatever is the effect of some action will not remain permanent. So moksha or liberation of the knowledge of Atman is not a result of any work, any activity. Even our spiritual practices, reading scriptures, attending retreats, all will role or will play the function of removing wrong notions. As we bring light, darkness is driven away. And when darkness is driven away, if there is something remains, it should be light only. If there is somebody who is an enemy of darkness, it should be only light. So, when wrong notions are removed, the right understanding that we are the Atman becomes self-evident. So, that's why the teacher takes up the problem of wrong ideas and wrong notions. And once wrong notions are removed, the right recognition, cognition becomes self-evident. The fact that it is a piece of rope is not the effect of bringing light. Even if you don't bring light, it won't be a snake, it will be a rope. You may think it is a rope, it's a snake, but that doesn't have any effect on the rope. So the fact that it's a rope is not a result of bringing light. Like that, there is a very shocking statement. Your sadhana, spiritual practices do not produce liberation. But they do have an important role. They remove all obstacles that stand in the way of liberation. Just like the light that you brought in the dark room removed darkness, and then in the light, that natural consequence of the disappearance of darkness, the fact it is a rope becomes self-evident. That's why liberation is not a gift from God, but when we pray to God, when we read scriptures, when we pray and meditate, all the wrong notions, all the obstacles are removed, and once obstacles are removed, the reality becomes clear. So anyway, so there are 4 statements in this connection in this Shankaracharya's works. In Sanskrit, I will put in Sanskrit, that's it. That is, liberation or spiritual realization is not vikarya, it is not utpadya, it is not apya, it is not samskarya. These are 4 words. It's very simple. It is not vikarya means, see, we have got, for example, yogurt or curds, and you put some milk. Next day, it becomes something else. It is called vikara, change of structure. It becomes yogurt. Milk becomes yogurt when you put some yogurts or curds in it, what we call it. So that vikara means change. So realization of Atman, of moksha, is not something that is brought out as a result of this kind of change, as we change the structure of milk by pouring some yogurt into it. It becomes curd next day. It is not vikarya, it is not the result of any change. And then it is not the result of leaving something behind and reaching somewhere else. So you leave San Francisco behind and you reach Sacramento. So one place is left behind and you reach another place. So Gramantra means leaving one village behind and reaching another village. So now I have left bondage behind. Now I have got liberation. That kind of liberation will not be permanent. Because that's a result of a process, some kind of activity. Anything that is the product or effect of any kind of activity will not be permanent. What is permanent is the self-evident. It always exists. So there was no time when we were non-liberated. There was no time when we will be bound. So I was discussing this Mandukika, na nirodho na jotpatti, na bandho na chasataka, na mumukshut na vai muktaha, ittesha paramatma. So 44 videos we have got in the YouTube on Mandukika. It is a very interesting statement. It takes a lot of intellectual courage to even to intellectually approach this subject. There is no liberation, there is no bondage, there is no spiritual practices, there is nothing. Why? Because we are actually self-liberated. Our true nature is that we are Atman. Everything else is a superimposition. That's a unique message of Advaita, non-dualism. you find in all non-Advaitic systems of Indian philosophy. There is always this problem of a person leaving behind a state of imperfection and moving towards a state of perfection. So perfection is a state that you reach, that you attain, leaving behind a state of imperfection. But in Advaita, you just get out of the wrong notion that you are not liberated. You get out of the wrong notion that you are bound. So there is no liberation, because liberation is intellectually, logically intelligible only if there is the problem of bondage. You are not bound, so how can you be liberated? So what it means? It means that the rope has not become the snake. Then why do you bring a stick to kill a snake? You bring light, and the light doesn't produce the rope. The light removes from our mind the wrong notion that it was not a rope but a snake. Like that, all spiritual practices remove from our mind the wrong notion that we are not free, that we are bound. That wrong notion is gone, and then our true nature becomes self-evident. And this is a unique teaching of Advaita. In fact, what actually made Swami Vivekananda so relevant in Western world when he came was this. He actually was liberating the Western religious mind from the wrong notion that we are now bound, we are now not free, we are in a miserable condition. So somebody should come and give us a light, and we come out of this dark cave. What Vivekananda said, you are not in a dark cave. That's the wrong notion. You open the windows and doors of your own room where you are living, and you find where you are. So opening these windows and doors, bringing light, that's the role of scriptures. So that's it takes a lot of spiritual, intellectual courage to tell somebody. And so that you don't need an anthropomorphic, transcendental moral authority to give you liberation on a platter. It's very difficult, and it takes a lot of courage. That's why, but surprisingly you find it was America that responded to this new idea which came to America with so much of enthusiasm. Vivekananda had a great expectation in Europe, especially in England. Swami himself said England will be a great center of Vedanta, but we are not sure if it really became a reality. See, America produced so many monks and nuns and enthusiastic Vedantic thinkers who responded to this idea, because the thirst for freedom that took them across the big dam also prompted them to look for another kind of freedom. And that's what they got from Vivekananda. You don't have to feel bound by some kind of a transcendental moral dictator, spiritual dictator, who gives you liberation in platter. Liberation is your own birthright, just like political independence or freedom is your birthright. So that's the uniqueness of Vedanta message. That's what I really want to impress upon you, because that's a very, very unique philosophy of Advaita. And remember, with this we must also remember one very, very important factor. That is, this doesn't mean that God, Creator God, is wrong. No. Advaita doesn't deny anything.
Right.
And that's a very, you see, if you reach Stanford, you don't say, oh, you fools are going to kindergarten. It's no use, you should go to Stanford. You don't tell a small kid who's going to a primary school or a kindergarten, oh, this is absolutely useless, you should go to Harvard. You don't say that. The child, if he works hard in a kindergarten, primary school, gets a good grade, will go to city college, eventually may reach Harvard. So but he can't begin with Harvard. But that means when you reach Harvard, you don't say what you learned in the kindergarten is wrong.
Right.
You get a more complete picture of what you learned in the kindergarten and primary school. So dualism is not wrong. Qualified non-dualism is not wrong. Creationism is not wrong. Only creationism is reading of the reality from a more incomplete perspective. It is our own evolution in spiritual understanding that takes us to a higher understanding of the absolute reality. So we were yesterday discussing this Karana, Sharira, and in the process we discussed Maya. So we finished 110th verse we finished, and then 111th verse also we discussed. I mean it is not absolute reality. Maya is not absolute reality. Maya is not absolute unreality. Maya is not a combination of both. It is not different from Brahman. That also requires some explanation. If you say Maya is not different from Brahman, and Brahman is the absolute reality, how do you intellectually reconcile this? It requires, again we have to resort back to Shankaracharya's logic. Now again you have to come. This world that a liberated person perceives, a person who has realized Brahman, let us say Vivekachudamani or Ramana Maharshi or Shankaracharya or Sri Ramakrishna or Jesus, Buddha, anyone. Now, those who have reached the highest peak of spiritual realization, how do they look upon this world? This world doesn't disappear, nor do they run away from this world. In place of the world that they saw before realization, they see a new world. They see the world, they live in this world, they interact with the world, but they do not think this world is the absolute reality. Even while living this world, they are still aware of the fact that this world is impermanent. So one can live in this world, one can work in this world, one can pray, one can evolve, still be convinced of the relativity of this world, of the fact that this world is not absolute reality. That is the meaning of Vivekananda's well-known statement. He makes this statement in connection with this description of Maya. The world is a gymnasium for us to work out our karmas. You don't go and live in a gymnasium. Gymnasium is a place you use for a different purpose, for strengthening our muscles. So this world is a field, is a wonderful place where we can live, work, practice karma yoga and evolve in spiritual life. This idea becomes clear when we take up the next important verse. So that's what we are going to do now. We go to the 126th and 27th and the following verses. So the 126th verse is only an introduction to this subject. That is, Atate sampravakshyami surubam paramatmanaha yadiknyaya naro gandhan mukta kaivalyam asnude. This is the verse. I am now going to tell you all about the nature of Atman. So, after finishing an elaborate exposition of the known Atman, the relative entity or what is not absolutely real, the teacher is now about to take up the subject of the absolute reality, Atman or Brahman. And by knowing that, a spiritual seeker gets liberation. So one should always keep in mind what I mentioned earlier. Vedanta doesn't deny the reality of empirical world. Only Vedanta tells you empirical world is empirical world. It is relative, it is not absolute in that sense. So, but still it has a function. We can work in this world. We can evolve. Every action produces vrittis, vasanas and samskaras. And that prompts us to continue action, and this leads to the continuation of the cyclic rotation, life, death, rebirth, Again birth, life, death, rebirth goes on. We are rotating along with the wheel without ever being able to come out of it. This can come to an end the moment we change the way we work. So one unique message of Vedanta is the free way is right in front of you. Whatever maybe we are doing a professional work, the nature of activity that we normally do, there is a door open right in front of all of us. Everyone works. Everyone is engaged in some kind of activity. The problem is, behind every action there is a desire, there is a motive, there is a purpose, and there is attachment. There is this obsession with the result or the consequences of what we are doing. Such a problem. And that creates bondage. How does it create bondage? Because every action, not physical action alone, a word we speak is an action at the verbal level, a thought is an action at the mental level, an idea that flashes in our minds, again a kind of action. All these, when we identify with this activity, it produces a residual element and it registers an impression in the mental system which never dies when the action is gone and remains there even when we are reborn, when this life is gone. It becomes a vritti, a samskara, a vasana, a wave, a tendency, and a tendency to act in a particular manner. All because of previous memories, previous samskaras, previous activities, which remain fresh in our mental system. And this continue prompting us to act in a particular manner and not to act in a particular manner. If the result of what we did is not pleasant, we have a tendency to avoid that action. If the result is pleasant, then we have a tendency even to do that action even when it is not necessary. That's bondage. If we can choose what we can do, there is no bondage, there is freedom. Physically we may be able to do, but we can never be sure what thought is going to emerge in our mind next split second. If we can program our mind, then there will be no bondage. So there is no programming of the mind. There is transcending the mind. So, as I mentioned, once we change our attitude towards what we do, then instead of becoming a chain that binds us, this action or whatever we do becomes an instrument that breaks the chains that binds us. So Krishna says in the Gita, Yajñatha karmanaha anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaga tadartham karma gundeya mukta sangha samachara. What he says is, any action done as a yajna, as an offering to God for the good of the world, without any selfish motive, without any desire, selfish desire, that becomes an action which is not really an action, which is not a bondage. It becomes an instrument with which you break the chains that bind us. It is called karma yoga. So karma becomes a cause of bondage. Karma yoga becomes an instrument with which we break the chains that bind us. So that's why whatever we do, just convert karma into karma yoga through or bringing this element of non-attachment or a kind of renunciation for the results of what we do, not with a kind of indifference or negligence to action or its result, but rather offering that to a higher ideal. Then every action becomes an instrument that helps us, that takes us to liberation. That's a royal highway. So, though liberation, bondage, Advaitic realization of Atman may appear to be a very high ideal dangling over the sky, far away, far remote, distant. It may appear to be so. But the path that leads us to that destination is right open in front of us. Freeway. If you can take the freeway, then you are sure you will reach the destination. So that freeway opens when we make our karma, when we transform our karma into karma yoga. Because karma yoga gradually purifies the mind. And work and worship at the earliest stage, work as worship at the more advanced stage, and the distinction between work and worship completely disappears. Everything becomes a worship. Everything becomes an offering for the good of the world. Then becomes karma yoga through the practice of renunciation of desire or the practice of non-attachment to the results of whatever we do. And that naturally becomes a royal highway. So once our mind is pure, then vrittis, vasanas, samskaras, impressions, desires all vanish. Then mind becomes non-mind. Then we transcend mind. Then we transcend anatman. The most powerful aspect of anatman is antakarana. As I mentioned, we discussed this. Antakarana, mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. Mind, intellect, memory system, and our ego system. Whatever we do, that creates, that accumulates a reservoir, a huge storehouse of habits, obsessions, and ideas with which we continue living in the world. So often we are the slaves of our own impressions, our own habits, our own memories. Now, this is one of the 8 units that constitute what we discussed yesterday, subtle body. That remember, the subtle body. So practically, it becomes a great bondage. So once we start practicing karma yoga, what happens? The memory system gets emptied of all its impressions. First, wrong or undesirable memories get neutralized by pleasant, spiritually helpful memories. I discussed this point yesterday. How to get out of unpleasant memories, unpleasant obsessions, unpleasant habits. That's a big problem actually. How to get out of this terrible, invisible torment in the form of unpleasant, undesirable memories and habits that people, spiritual seekers, want to get out of. But the moment you sit and contemplate, and especially when you try to meditate, these memories suddenly start emerging. Mind doesn't cooperate, though intellect is willing. So mind sometimes gives wrong justifications for not practicing meditation and spiritual practices. Sometimes mind, part of the mind detaches itself from the main body, and then it acts as an enemy. It gives wrong justifications for not continuing spiritual practices. The other mind is cooperating. That is the second personality we referred to yesterday and day for yesterday. When we start practicing spiritual values, we suddenly find a new higher dimension of our own personality slowly begins to emerge. And we want to identify ourselves with that higher personality. We may be able to do that for some time when we are meditating or reading a book, or we are thinking or contemplating on spiritual ideas or in the association of spiritual seekers. But once we are out of it, we are elsewhere, then mind goes back to its previous accustomed habits and thought currents, called Vikshipta in the yoga system. Pendulum, like a pendulum of a clock that moves between two extreme points of a clock. Almost like bipolar, not in abnormal pathological state, but in normal dimension. So this conflict between what we want to do and what our mind permits us, allows us to do. Now, how to get out of this? Slowly go on doing good actions, good deeds, consciously. So that will alter the balance of the antakarana, this sukshma sarira. Sarira means body, but it's not body, that's not meant. Thoughts, ideas, impressions accumulated in the mental system. So these thoughts and ideas they go through a kind of transformation, refinement, when a number of new, fresh, good ideas and impressions are created through good actions, good thoughts, good words, to be reading, listening, actions, anything. And once this happens, mind slowly changes its nature. Conflicts decrease and mind begins to cooperate more and more. And when this happens, we are able to practice noble deeds without any selfish motive. That's called karma yoga. And once this reaches an advanced state, it becomes our natural habit. And when mind is emptied of all its negative vrittis and vasanas and samskaras, then mind becomes non-mind, mind becomes Atman. So what is actually, in a way, what is subtle personality? It is nothing but reflection of Atman on our mind. Mind is like a mirror. The mirror, if it is clean, pure, then there is no difference between the reflection and the prototype. The reflection and what is reflected on. Atman is reflecting on the mental system. So Vivekachudamani, for example, has an interesting statement. He says, the difference between an amoeba and a Buddha is one of degrees, not of kind. An amoeba is a very primitive organism. Atman is present in amoeba also. Atman is present in people whom we normally consider to be evil. But the mind on which the Atman reflects is dirty, filthy, obscure. So it gives a very distorted reflection for which Atman is not responsible. The mirror is dirty. So you don't get a correct, a pure reflection of the sunlight, for which sun is not responsible. If you take a piece of paper or a piece of cloth and cleans the mirror, then the sun reflects very clearly. So spiritual practices, reading scriptures, contemplation and thinking, karma yoga, noble deeds, noble words, noble activities, all these correspond to our effort to take a piece of cloth and clean up the mirror. So once the mirror is cleaned, then the Atman reflects completely. So when all the vrittis are gone, then the reflection is broken. Then the mirror is broken. So where does the sun go? Sun goes back to the original sun. There are 1,000 mirrors. So you have got 1,001 suns. 1,000 reflections at the original sun. If the 1,000 mirrors are broken, the real sun is not broken, it remains there. So Atman remains. So these are some of the central principles to be understood when we discuss the coming verses. So now we will come to the 127th verse. Asti kasti swayam nityam agam pratyaya lampanaka avasthatraya sakshi san panchakoshavilakshana. Now, there is something, this Atman, which exists by itself as the substract of what we consider I. So I mentioned at the beginning, normally at a very gross level, when we use the word I, we mean this physical body. At a higher level, we may mean our mind or the intellect. But at a still higher level, we may mean something, the real I, that goes beyond, that transcends the physical, the intellectual, the mental. That I is a witness of three states. So this is a particular method of self-discovering our own real nature. It is elaborately discussed in Mandukya Upanishad, and also Mandukya Upanishad is a small Upanishad with 12 slokas, mantras, 12 verses, and it has got a very famous commentary written by Gaudapada Kariga. The commentary is in the form of a poetical work, 215 verses, which expound the spiritual philosophy of this small Upanishad, and which again is more elaborately expounded by Shankaracharya in his commentary on Mandukya Kariga and the Upanishad. This is the essential structure. It is a very simple thing. What's our true nature? So, the world of our experiences is analyzed from three perspectives. What we experience during waking state, and what we experience during dream state, and what we experience during the dreamless or deep sleep states. These are called three states. It is called avasthatraya. Avastha means three states of consciousness or mind. Now, there is somebody who is present in all the three states. What we see, what we experience, what we perceive, what we witness, change from one state to another state. During waking state, we see an object, we experience many things. During dream state, we go through a set of experiences which are actually not totally different from waking state experiences, but certainly not identical in them. See, you cannot have any dream which is totally unrelated to any of your waking state experiences. So, if you have a dream which cannot be traced to any of the waking state experiences of this life, Vedanta and Yoga or Buddhism, these three traditions, will try to explain this in the light of some experiences coming from another source, previous life. So it's just like this, the recording machine. You may go backward. It's a 1 hour lecture, let us say. You travel backward and you reach the beginning of the lecture, I mean the first second. Still go beyond that, then you will come to the end of the previous lecture. So, where does it begin? Where does it end? So, the difference between the end of the previous lecture and the beginning of the present one is just a matter of seconds. So, Vedanta, Yoga and Buddhism, these three traditions try to explain dream experiences in the context of waking state experiences. But they also emphasize the fact that they are not identical, there is a difference. See, a person may require 6 hours to reach New York in waking state. But in dream state, he may require just a split second. So there is a difference difference with regard to time. It's called kala bheda, means difference in terms of time. There is also difference in terms of space. So we may be sleeping in a small dark room. We may dream walking under the sun. So there is a difference. And again we may feel we are riding an elephant, which is not physically possible in waking state. So there is a difference called Desha Bheda. And also you may go to sleep here, you may dream you have reached somewhere else, in Europe, somewhere else. So, and again, dream experiences are subtle, in the sense they are all mental projections. You may see, you may be hungry and have a wonderful meal in dream. You are hungry before you go to sleep, but you remain hungry when you wake up. In dream you have a wonderful meal. So all these differences are there. But the point is, one can never have any kind of dream experience which is totally unrelated to some degree of waking state experiences. It could be a thought during waking state, which may project as a physical experience at a mental level in dream. It may be a flash of ideas. All these will be re-experienced, will be relived in dream. Now, how are we able to remember dream experiences when we wake up? We may not be able to remember everything, but we are able to remember something. In order to remember, even when you are out of dream state and when you are in waking state, there should be somebody present in both the states. So there should be somebody present in both the states. Though experiences are different in terms of time, space and causation, still the experiencer should be one. You cannot remember unless somebody experienced in dream state, another person or another dimension of our personality experienced in dream. This will be same. So that's why people are able to remember. Memory is not possible unless there is a drashta, what we call a witness, an experiencer, a common experiencer. Really. So who is that? See, body is different, cells change, mind changes, impressions change. But there is something behind all this, a witness, a subject, a seer, an experiencer, a perceiver, who never changes. The perceived objects and seen objects, experiences change. That is Atman. So, this is a very interesting, very psychological analysis. In the Upanishadic literature, there are dozens of methods of analyzing and experiencing Atman, the one's spiritual reality behind all this, the witness, the subject. That's a very unique method here. You don't find any reference to God or prayer or meditation or puja or temple. The Upanishad tells you, you just observe your own mind, your own experiences. This is very interesting. Now the third state, avasthatraya, three states. Avasthatraya sakshi, so that's a word used here, 127th verse. Avasthatraya three states of consciousness or experiences: dream, waking state and deep sleep states. Sakshi means witness. Sakshi is more than a witness. It's more or less similar to witness, as a witness is defined in legal terms. In fact, to be a witness, you should be present when the event took place. And you should not be a participant in the event. A criminal who has participated will not be recognized to be an impartial witness. So he should be aware of it, and he should be a non-participating witness. So Atman is a non-participating witness who witnesses all the experiences during waking state, dream state and deep sleep states. So Sakshi is more than what we normally understand witness. So Sakshi in Sanskrit, Audasinyatvat Bodhrutva Sakshitva means. So the old commentators give a wonderful example. Suppose you are witnessing a drama, a play going on the stage. If you are one of the players, you won't be a witness. You won't be able to sit on the gallery. You will be playing on the platform. But on the platform, everything on the platform cannot be witnessed. There is a wall on the platform, a photo on the platform, the curtain cannot be witnessed. So a witness should have awareness, should be aware of what he is witnessing, but should not have participated in that particular activity. then only you call him a witness. So Atman is a witness of these three types of dramas going on during waking state, dream state and deep sleep states. Now there is one interpretation. Another one is Kastika Swayam Nityam Aham Pratyaya Lambana, means, see, we always interpret, we always look upon ourselves as the I. I in this lowest dimension, as I mentioned, is this physical body, or maybe a higher level, the mind. When we say we are happy or unhappy, angry or pleased, mind, or maybe I enjoy a great book, intellect, and so on. But at the highest level, there is one I, of which all the other I's are different dimensions. And this I is present all through. And this I is present in all the three states of our experiences: dream state, deep sleep state and waking state. There are differences with regard to what we experience, but there is no difference with regard to what the experiencer, the seer, the witness, the subject. Because if there was a difference, if there is any change with regard to the seer, you will be able to remember. One may ask the question, and Vedantists emphasize this point. When you have deep sleep, dreamless sleep, you feel complete rest. So people complain about not getting enough sleep. That's because, for two reasons. First of all, it is sleep that gives us complete rest, natural spontaneous state of restfulness. Another state in which you fully experience restfulness is samadhi. In both the states, you transcend plurality. When mind is split into or fragmented into a number of multiple ideas, then only you feel restlessness. If mind is focused on a single idea, you don't feel restlessness. See, children watching these sports events for long hours without any distraction, they don't feel tired. So, but then when mind is divided or fragmented into different focus points, this multiplicity creates conflicts, and conflicts create restlessness. But in deep sleep, we feel a kind of complete restfulness. That's because in deep sleep there is absence of duality. Not because duality is absent, because we feel the absence of duality, not because duality is absent, but because our instrument with which we experience or connect with duality is not there. Mind is not there. But Atman is there. When mind is not there, you feel great restfulness. See, when do we enjoy certain things? When you see something and you lose awareness of your own mind. Even when you eat food, if you enjoy food very much, at the time of eating that food, you will forget your mind, you will forget everything, you will kind of identification with the food, a taste with which we eat that food. That's called identification. So the point is, in deep sleep or dreamless sleep, we are always in a state of deep restfulness. But even there, Atman is there. So how do we understand? When we wake up, get out of this deep sleep state, we feel I am fully rested. So the experience of going through a very pleasant experience of total restfulness will not be remembered when you are not in deep sleep. And when you are in waking state, it will not be remembered unless there is somebody who is present both in deep sleep and also during waking state. So the same witness, awareness should be present in all the three states. Then only we will be able to remember. In order to remember, there should be one thread harmonizing, going through all these three states. That is Atman. That is one way of realizing or recognizing the reality of Atman. That is one interpretation. Avasthatraya Sakshi, that's a word used in the 127th verse. And it is called, it is panchakoshavilakshana. It is different and free from the 5 sheaths. That is, that's panchakosha manomaya, annamaya, pranamaya, manomaya, vijnanamaya, and anandamaya koshas. This awareness, consciousness, clothed in 5 sheaths, ascending order of subtlety. At the grossest level, bodily sheath, annamaya kosha. At the higher level, pranamaya kosha. And a still higher level, mental, manomaya kosha. And still higher level, intellectual. And a still higher level, called, this blissful state. So 5 koshas. So this is a very famous verse. So this is the very interesting expression is, in Vedanta there are different ways of explaining the reality. One is by stating it is this, other one is it is not that. One is neti neti, not this, not that. So as I mentioned, if you rule out the possibility of all non-Atman, then what remains is Atman. There are many other Nanta Prakyam, Bhagis Prakyam, Ubheda Prakyam, Na Prakyam, Na Prakyam. You find all this. This Atman is not, it is not awareness, it is not non-awareness, it is not a combination of both. It's all anyway. I am not going to those the famous statements in the Mandukya Upanishad itself. So this is one way of understanding this Atman. Another way of understanding Atman is in terms of awareness and experience, a different approach. So you find that in the Brhadaranyaka Upanishad. And one important aspect to remember is, and that may be a bit of a news to many of our modern students, is in none of these Upanishadic statements you ever come across ideas related to a place of worship or a ritual or a temple or a god sitting above the clouds. You never, that's an interesting thing to remember. And that is the uniqueness of, if you want to get an explanation why these Upanishadic ideas completely created a sensation among the intellectual elite of Europe in 18th century. It came to America only towards the end of 19th century through Vivekachudamani. But long before that, you find these ideas created a sensation throughout Europe right from 18th century onwards. Of course, it happened right from 16th century earlier, but it all began with a good number of French and later German Indologists who happened to discover Upanishads. It was more of a sensation at the intellectual level than the discovery of the sea roots, which only made people eat better food, taking all raw materials and creating the industrial centers of Manchester, Newcastle and all that. But what Paul Deussen or Max Muller or before that Janet and Bintanich and Holbrook and all this did to European intellectual culture was much more sensational than the discovery of sea roots, either to India or to America. Because you find right from 18th century onwards, a complete paradigm shift you come across the Europe, among the intellects of at least. Of course, the traditional institutional religion still continue to sway its hold over the masses. But still, see, when Paul Deussen or Max Muller, Max Muller's case is much more sensational. The man was commissioned to translate and to edit Vedas so that the whole world will understand what absolute gibberish Upanishads teach. And when Max Muller really started reading the first few lines, he became a devotee of the Vedas, not a student. And he was a married man. He never had a regular life. Both husband and wife became devotees. Their shrine was the Vedas, and the deity was the Upanishad philosophy. This happened not to one person. Paul Deussen was a far greater example. He was much more a greater scholar than Max Muller. MacDonald, Winternis, Colebrook, and many others. A few French and many more Germans, and one or two British like MacDonald and others. Because these Upanishads presented before them a concept and analysis of the absolute reality that is totally different from praying to a place of worship or a temple or a church and praying to God, please give me this and that. Rather, you turn your attention towards yourself and undertake an inward journey, and you'll reach your own nature, your own true nature. So that's what you find here. And you know where this is I'm going to quote now one very interesting chapter from Brhadaranyaka Upanishad, which conservative historians place somewhere in 4th millennium BC. That is long before the Greek mystery religions emerged. There is a very interesting dialogue between a king and a saint. And the saint he was a married man actually, Yajnavalkya, had 2 wives. And the other one was a great philosopher king who was ruling a big country. The country was practically it encompassed the entire Indian subcontinent of those days. His name was Janaka, and he was ruling a country, a kingdom, an empire. So there is a dialogue between a philosopher, a professional philosopher like Yajnavalkya, and a philosopher king called Janaka. So in those days, sages and philosophers used to visit kings and emperors in their courts. So Yajnavalkya pays a visit to Janaka's court. It is called the Jyotirbrahmanam. Analysis or exposition of Atman as the eternal light of knowledge present immanent in everything in this world. What is Atman? Atman is the light of spirit, knowledge present in everything. So the light of lights. So that is that's the context. So when this king saw his friend, the great philosopher Yajnavalkya, coming to the court, he decided to ask some questions to him. They were both equally great scholars and philosophers. Kim Jyotirayam Purifying. This is a simple question. And the question continues. What is the light that enables people to live in this world? In fact, as the question progresses, there are 5 questions, 5 angles, 5 approaches to this discussion. And as it's an ascending order of subtlety and profoundness and metaphysical significance. So first question is, Kim Jyotirayam Purusayidi. How or what light, or endowed with what light, literally speaking, translating, endowed with what light does a person live in this world, go about doing his duty, return to his place? How does he live? So the simple reply given was sunlight. That is true, sunlight helps us to see objects, to live in this world, to move about, to do our work, and so on. Then the philosopher king puts the next question. Okay, now suppose the sun is set in the west, it's no more there. Astamede Aditya Yajnavalkya Kim Jyotirayam Purusayidi. In the evening the sun sets in the west. Then what light helps a person to move about, doing his work? Moonlight. So far so good. The third stage he asks, suppose there is no moonlight, no sunlight, what's the light that helps a person to live in this world? See, Agni Jyoti. So Aditya Jyoti, sunlight, Chandra Jyoti is moonlight, Agni Jyoti is, you may light a candle or start a fire and you may see things. That's fine. Now suppose you don't have sunlight or moonlight. Let us say you are blind or let us say. And then what helps you to communicate with, to interact with the external world? The answer given was Vak-Jyoti, speech. Well, you can't see anything because there is no sunlight or moonlight, or you are blind or whatever may be. Then also you communicate with things in this world. Things will get revealed to you. The revealership is the function of light. So Atman is portrayed as a great revealer, in whose presence everything gets revealed. So once we realize the presence of this Atman as the ultimate revealer, the ultimate light of all light, Jyotisham Jyoti, light of all lights, then we will understand everything. That's why yesterday we were mentioning, even great mystics or creative writers whom you don't call saints, even at some point of time, due to extreme power of concentration, dedication, devotion to an ideal, they get a glimpse of the transcendental truth of human life, and you get a Dostoevsky writing Brothers Karamazov, which a psychologist may not be able to fully reveal what he revealed in his writings. So how does he able to do that? Because through concentration, through misery in his case, of course, the terrible tragedy that he went through, he was about to die and he was pardoned. So these experiences suddenly push a person, his mind towards something, and he gets a glimpse of the universal, the transcendental. Because it's not that he's able to see that within his own mind, so he's able to interpret life in that light. A creative writer and painter first should realize all those things with his own mind. And the paper only plays the role of a canvas. Paper and pen portrays, writes and describes only what the poet or the writer goes through to the track of his own experiences. That comes out in the form of a creative writing or classical. So that's why when Yajnavalkya answered the fourth question, Vak-Jyoti, that's Vak-Jyoti means when there is no sunlight, no moonlight, you can't see, no candle, no Agni-Jyoti, then words can play the role of revealer, Atma. Because words becomes the revealer, the light. The fifth question is, that is this. Astamide aditya yajnavalkya chandramasi astamide vacha shantayam vachi. So, and that means no word, no fire, no candlelight, no sunlight, no moonlight. Still you sit somewhere, you close your eyes, and your mind goes back through the memory line, traveling backward in time, and you are able to recollect, you are able to relive, re-experience your earlier life memories and events. You feel you are walking under the burning sun, though actually there is no light anywhere, you are in a dark room with eyes closed, no sunlight still. So how are you able to recollect and remember and relive, re-experience the past events? There should be somebody within us, present in all of us, that preserves all these memories and impressions. That is the eternal witness, the seer, the perceiver. What is that? Atma Jyoti. Atman, the all-permanent, the all-pervading, the omnipresent reality, manifesting as the immanent spiritual spark, the divine spark within us. That Atman is the real light. So all other lights borrow their ability to function as lights from this Atman. In the presence of this Atman, everything gets revealed. Other lights are able to function as lights. Its function of light is it reveals things and reveals itself. It gets all these faculties to reveal and lighten, illumine other things from the presence of Atman within. When this Atman is When Atman is withdrawn from our mind and intellect, then sunlight and moonlight doesn't help us. So, as we progress, evolve in spiritual life, we realize this non-physical or transcendental spiritual light, the light of all lights, the source of all light, the ultimate revealer of everything, present in us in the form of this Atman as an indweller. So called Jyotisham, Jyoti, the light of all lights. This is one way of analyzing the supreme reality. So we can imagine how philosophical, how psychological it is. Okay, so Yo vijanati sagalam jagrat swapna susuptishu. That absolute reality, the ultimate revealer that knows everything in waking, dream and dreamless sleep states, that is the ultimate revealer. The presence of buddhi and its functions, that is the one who knows mind, intellect, all that's going on within our system, that is the real Atman, that's the ultimate reality. Now we will have interaction for half an hour and we will continue discussion tomorrow. So we will have questions. If you don't have questions, I will continue the text.
Swami, I read ahead a little bit, and
Actually, could you repeat that?
yes, I read ahead a
Okay,
little bit.
Okay.
And there is a verse coming up that says, "Here in this cave of the heart,
Yeah.
but not in all hearts, in the heart of one established."
What's the verse number?
Well, in my book it's 132.
I will
but
find out. I will find.
think
Just a
it
minute.
might be
There's a little different. I will find out. Yeah.
134 in yours.
132. What's the verse?
I think it might be 134 in yours, Swami.
Okay. Right. Let me see again. Yeah. Please continue. Please read it.
So here in this cave of the heart,
Yeah.
but not in all hearts, in the heart of one established in the sattva quality, in that heart alone, as the sun shines in the sky,
Yeah.
dwells the Atman.
Yeah. Okay, I will explain.
Thank you.
The verse here is 134. The verse for those of you who are interested is Atraivasa Sattvavidhi Guna Guhaya Avyagrada Akashe Uru Prakashaka Akasha Uchai Devivat Prakashate Satejasa Vishambidam Prakasha. So, here, there are a few words. First one is Atra, the physical body. And in that is the gross body and also in the subtle body and in this causal body. So in this body itself, in the mind which is full of sattva, in the secret cave of buddhi, in the akasha spoken of as and manifested, the represent Atman shines like the sun in the sky, illuminating this entire universe by native effulgence. Now Atman is present in this body. Without Atman's presence, this physical body cannot function. But physical body is not Atman. Body becomes an instrument through which Atman reflects. And Atman reflects through mind, intellect, all this. The second verse, Dhiguhayam, this means here means. That is, the mind which is full of sattva guna. There also, this Atman is present, is a resplendent Atman. It shines like a sun. The sun reflects, the sun illuminates everything. In the presence of that sun, the ultimate revealer, the sun, everything becomes self-revealed. But remember, the sun is only manifesting, reflecting through mind, intellect. It is present there as the illuminator, as the one which shines through mind, intellect, everything. And the same sun as the Atman is present in our Karana Sharira also. In everything in this world, in our senses, mind, intellect, emotions, feelings, in everything, the Atman reflects. It's Atman that illumines, that activates everything. But still Atman is different. The mirror reflects the sunlight, but the sun is different from the mirror. So, as we evolve in spiritual life, the ability of our mind to reflect the light of Atman also increases. That's what Swami Vivekananda said. In amoeba, it's like a mirror which is very dirty, very thick, the thick layer of dust. So the Atman manifests or reflects in a very, very weak way. Buddha is the word used, the enlightened one in that sense. The Atman reveals, he reflects in his full effulgence because the mind or intellect is completely free. So the word is the verse Dhi Guhayam is mentioned here. So in the mind of the sattva, in the mind of a more spiritually evolved person, this Atman manifests in his full effulgence. Like the sun in the sky which illuminates the entire universe. Is that clear?
Yes, Swami, I see. So when it's saying, but not in all hearts, it means, but not in all hearts is it shining with such
it doesn't shine in all hearts in the equal way, with the same degree of effulgence.
Thank you, Swami.
So often when we put this question, if Atman present in everything, see yesterday for example, when we are reading Swami Vivekananda, how do you reconcile the reality of the evil? To be more precise, how do you reconcile with the idea of the Atman present in wicked persons? Well, suppose you have a mirror with a thick, dirty glass. The sunlight may be brilliant, but when the sunlight reflects on that dirty, filthy glass, the light appears to be different. So, when our mind is pure, then the Atman also manifests in his full glory. So, then remember, these 8 billion people who live on this planet Earth are like 8 billion reflecting mediums, 8 billion mirrors. So, they belong to 8 billion different levels of spiritual evolution. The sun reflects equally on all these 8 billion mirrors. Some mirrors are very pure. So, when the sun reflects, it throws brilliant light. Sometimes it could be very distorted, disturbing light also can come through. But the same sun reflects through unpleasant or dusty, filthy mirrors. So, that is the Vedantic approach. The sunlight is present everywhere. That's why the word is Devivat Prakashati. The sun reflects in everything. Sun is not to blame. It's the mirror that is to be blamed. So, mirror should be cleaned. Then the sunlight reflects on the mirror with greater and greater effulgence and illumination. Yeah. Any more questions, please?
Did you explain, what's the difference between the deep sleep stage and the samadhi stage?
Yeah.
In these two,
yeah.
I did not get it if you explained it.
Yeah, I should explain. So in samadhi state, you transcend avidya maya or plurality. In deep sleep, your ability to experience plurality is benumbed.
It's benumbed.
Yeah, benumbed.
Yeah.
It is not able to experience duality, not because duality is absent there, but you are not able to, your instrument to experience duality is not functioning. It becomes non-functional.
But in samadhi stage, it transcends?
It transcends. So transcending here means even transcending or transcendence implies freedom. You are free from it. In deep sleep, you are not free from it. For some time, you are not experiencing it. Because the mind with which you should experience plurality or Dvaita duality is benumbed. Mind merges with avidya. So mind takes the form of avidya, you don't see anything, you are totally ignorant of it. But that also technically gives you a glimpse of this restfulness. Because even in human life also, when our mind is crowded with fragmented thought currents, multiple thought currents, it creates conflict. When mind is focused on a single thought current, you don't feel fatigue or distraction or disturbance. So also, in deep sleep, there is the total absence of duality, not because it is not present. You feel the absence because you are not able to experience it. Your ability to experience is gone. It's not there. In samadhi, you transcend it. So transcending implies freedom. You are no more a victim to that. You are not caught by that. That's why when the Chandogya Upanishad, there are statements like, animals also go into sushupti, deep sleep. They feel restfulness. So Vivekananda, in a more focused statement, he says, a fool goes into deep sleep and comes back a fool. but a fool goes into samadhi, comes back a wise man. But remember, he doesn't go into samadhi, that's the truth. But still, if it happens, from samadhi you come back with freedom. You are transcended. See, when you get a very high grade on 10th grade examination, you transcend 10th grade, you go to 11th grade. So, which accommodates what you study in the 10th grade. It goes beyond it. But suppose you refuse to go to school, then also you don't go and sit in the 10th grade. Not because you have gone beyond it, but you have not even reached it. So deep sleep, you feel the absence, not because it is absent, but you are not able to experience it. The instrument with which you experience duality is not functioning in deep sleep. In samadhi, you transcend, you go beyond it.
So can we say, Swamiji, that in deep sleep the mind is still there, but we are not, the mind is benumbed.
It is not functioning.
It is not functioning.
Yeah.
The mind is, but in the samadhi stage you transcend the mind.
Yeah,
mind
is not there. Mind becomes one with Atman.
The mind merges with the Atman.
Yeah, the reflecting medium, the mirror is broken. It has merged one with the sun. The reflecting medium ceases to exist. So only the real sun illuminates. That's in samadhi. Yeah.
Could you speak a little bit on, in this book it's 125, but I think
25,
it's a little different in
125.
yours. It says
Yeah.
there is some
Oh.
absolute entity.
Oh yes. Maya karyam sarvam makadadi deka vedyantam. I don't know if you are the same verse.
No, so my question is...
No, but I know verses are different in different texts, So
There's two numbers different by two numbers.
Yeah.
So
She's referring to 125, it's actually 123.
123. Yeah.
Swami Turiyananda's translation.
So
Yeah.
the reference to the...
So one minute, just a minute. In Turiyananda's book, that is Sarva Pragara, that one.
No.
No, Maya, Karyam, that's 123.
Okay,
You're 125.
It's a different. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. Here is now this Maya defects. What is the effects of Maya? The whole universe, human life, all these are effects of Maya. Okay. From Mahat to body are Asat, or the nature of the Anatma. I should explain this.
No,
This is
that's
the.
not my question. That's not my question.
Yeah.
So it refers to the eternal substratum of the consciousness of egoism. That's my question.
Oh yeah, egoism, you know.
Can you explain?
Yeah, well,
Because we think of
yeah.
egoism as being
I shall explain,
individual,
explain.
right?
Okay. Now, this is linked to the Sankhya philosophy of evolution from Prakriti. Now, now in this evolution, the first evolute is Mahat Tattvam, the cosmic intelligence. The next evolute is ego system. It has got different dimensions. The grossest dimension of ego is the source of this whole universe, everything. The higher dimension of ego system is the source of our mind, intellect, sensations, ideas, everything. So, what is the question?
How do you relate the absolute entity to the consciousness of egoism?
Yeah. Now, you know, this egoism is a reflection of Atman. When Atman reflects on buddhi or intellect, then he reflects in 4 different dimensions. And these 4 together may be called in English internal organs, in Sanskrit antakarana, which has got 4 departments, 4 compartments. One is I, the other is mind, the other is intellect, the another one is the memory system called chitta. So aham is one, the ego, I consciousness. Mind is one, the buddhi, intellect is one, memory system is chitta is one. Now here, this is explained in the light of an example. Suppose you see an object in front of you. When you reach that object, you may suddenly remember, I saw this object sometime in the past. I am the one who saw this last week. So, how are you able to remember this? Because the Atman manifests in the form of these identification of our own as the witness, the seer of that particular object. And that experience creates a memory which is stored in the mental system. Another compartment of the same system is called chitta. Along with this, you may speculate this or that, when you identify yourself as the seer or experiencer of that particular object, or the one who went through these experiences in the past. When memory comes back to the mind, you always speculate. So, this aham, this I, is also one dimension of this Atman, functioning as the vritti. As one vritti, it is called ego, another vritti is called memory, another vritti is called speculation, which is called mind, another vritti as previous impressions. So, this antakarana becomes a reflection of Atman. Now the point is, they are not the same. Atman is a light. When it functions through one particular machine, it takes that form. For example, electricity passing through ironing machine, electricity working through a refrigerating machine, electricity functioning through another, they take different forms, functions. Functions do not mean the source is different. Same electricity, the same Atman manifesting as memory becomes functions, impressions, previous memories, ideas. The same Atman functioning, I am the one who saw this, I am the one who experienced it. See, it is not the ego in any unpleasant sense. It is what we refer to when I say I saw this. When it could mean many things for many persons, many contexts. I have a shirt, or I was hurt, I have a wound, physical body. I am happy, mind. I am bored by reading this book, intellect. But then, my intellect, where the possessive case if you use, who is the I here? It should be something that goes beyond intellect. We don't actually analyze that. That means there is a dimension to this ego that goes beyond the physical, the mental, the intellectual. The ultimate dimension of ego is Atman. But that Atman itself, functioning through different departments, assumes different dimensions. But a spiritual seeker can take this as a clue. Who is the real I? I mean, is this body, this mind, this intellect? That's Shankaracharya's stotras, I am not this body, I am not mind, I am not intellect, I am the all-pervading Shivananda Rupa Shivoham. That's the Shankaracharya's verses. I am not this body, I am not this universe, I am not the senses, I am not the body, I am not mind, I am not intellect. I am the all-pervading, the real I, the all-pervading Atman. From that highest, ultimate dimension of Atman, we can come down to lower levels, depending upon how we identify our own spiritual evolution. The word ego, there is always a problem of language. When you use the word ego, if you look at Webster's or Oxford dictionaries, that's not the meaning meant here in Vedanta philosophy. Ego here means a part of the internal organs.
I-ness.
Yeah.
Sense of I-ness.
Yeah. Yeah. To give the example, when you see an object in front of you, you may speculate whether it is a human being or a statue or a pillar. Mind is speculating. When you reach there, your intellect decides it is a pillar, not a human form. And then you suddenly, oh, I saw this yesterday. So you somehow see a connection between that pillar you are seeing right now and your own experience of seeing the same pillar last week. The same ego, same I am seeing now, the same I saw last week. That is ego.
So Swamiji, so is it, we can trace this I, sense of I-ness all the way back to the absolute reality?
Yeah, one can do that. That is the meaning of some one or two verses which come later on. Aham pratyaya. It's called aham pratyaya. The I, the idea of I. If a person with a pure mind can trace the origin of this I, this physical I, the mental I. Who is the I? Who am I, the real thing? I am the Atman. That's what Shankaracharya says. I am not the one who sees this different objective world. I am not the eyes or indriya, the senses. I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am not this intellect. I am something that goes beyond all this. I am the transcendental I, Shivananda Rupa, the all-pervading I. So it's like a thread that takes you all the way to the absolute reality. Yeah. Yeah. Any more? I think, yeah, we have, yeah. So we'll continue discussion tomorrow. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Pranastu